host permissions in a few seconds. Let me just set up all the live streams and everything, and then I'll get back to you.
The only thing about undoing the host, I mean, I don't think we can undo the waiting room because all of us are already in the meeting. So we might have to hop out and hop back in. So I think we'll just keep the...
You can disable the waiting room, Ranjani.
Okay.
Good morning, Tom. Thank you for joining us at such obscene hours.
Hey, it's all good.
I love your beard, Tom. Good to see you. Haven't seen you a long time.
It's been a while, Gustav. Yes, thank you very much. This is my COVID project.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It suits you. That's great.
Yes.
Justine, quick question. When we're in the breakout room and we're recording, so we're recording to our local computers, right?
That's fine, yeah. You can record to the cloud. It will go to your Zoom cloud, but better, safer to the local recording. Local recording is what they suggest online.
Okay, fine.
And Justine, for the breakout rooms, people can just use their microphones, right? We don't have to check the chat. They can ask questions.
Whatever you prefer, Gustav.
Yeah.
So I think we've experienced that some people have bad, kind of not such good internet, so they sometimes prefer the chat. But I think you guys can see what works.
I guess what I'm wondering, do we have to have Attendify open? No, we will see all the questions in the chat.
No, everyone will be in Zoom.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah.
Justine, if we're sharing our screen for slides and stuff, will we still see the chat?
You should be able to. You'll be able to go above in the Zoom kind of icon, and it will say have a chat button.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can quickly say to that, like what really helps me is sort of on the top, it'll start blinking if somebody's written something in the chat, and only if you click it, I think it's on the top right, sort of like a orange yellow bubble, it'll open the chat on your screen.
Okay, thanks.
Ranjini, you'll be in my group, correct?
Yes, Tom. I'm going to be in your group.
Okay, just if you see things that, somebody has a question I don't see, break in, because I might not notice this blinking light going on above. Remember, I'm old. I'm not a tech guy, so.
Yeah, if I see questions, I'll read them out.
Okay, good, thank you.
So, Kaustubh, can you make everyone a co-host, so that they can share their screens? Kaustubh is host now.
And Uma, Raki is in your session to support with any tech issues, and she'll be recording your session.
And we have to present a summary of the session also, right?
Afterwards, yes.
Yeah, a participant.
To everyone in the main session. If you guys, after the 1 hour, so it'll be 1 hour breakout room, we'll all come back, and then we'll ask each team to maybe present, a few minutes, whatever was the main outcomes from your session. That's a good.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I think now on Attendify, people can join, Kaustubh, by the way.
You're muted.
So we're having a few power surges here. We had power come in, go out, come in again, go out again. And the whole city is out of power right now.
Oh my.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
I thought that was only in India.
So this happens like once in really 6-7 months, and it's happening today.
Kaustubh,
how are you connected then?
With my phone hotspot. I mean, a few backups are still available, but we'll see how long they last.
Yeah, so Kaustubh, can you make us all co-hosts?
I'm making that right now. Just one second.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me who all do I make the co-hosts here?
Everyone can be co-hosts that are already here.
Co-host. Why does it ask? It's almost like a nanny system. It asks you 10 times. You really want to make them the co-host? Yes. Gustav, make co-host. Yes. Manvi, make co-host. Munib, make co-host. Who else is left?
Raki.
Ranjani.
Make co-host.
Tom.
Yes. Ranjani, make co-host. Yes. Sherry, make co-host. Oh, there's no option. You're already a co-host apparently, Sherry. Or maybe I'm out of limit, I think.
But then, yeah, Uma.
No, Munib is a co-host now.
Uma
Who else do we need to add here?
Uma and Tom.
Uma and Tom. Let me just see if I can add Uma.
You can undo Gantulga as well on this session as co-host.
You could skip me, Kaustubh. I'll go back to bed.
Not so easy.
Worth a shot.
Well, yeah, you tried. It's okay. Okay, I think I've got you all co-hosts. So we have Justine, Raki, Gantulga. Gantulga also co-host?
He doesn't need to be. Next
doesn't
session.
need to be. Okay. Yeah, he is in the next session. Okay. Justine, Raki, Gustav, Ian, Manvi, Munib, Ranjani, Sherry, Tom, Uma. That's it?
Right. Yeah.
We'll need to also, if Abhinan and David when they come. But
yes. That's fine.
So
And
basically
just give
1.5 hours, right, guys? So 1 hour of the 1 hour of the session and then half an hour of the debrief. That's correct, right?
Yes. And there's an additional 30 minutes after that on general discussion. But if you have other, we understand if you're busy, that's totally fine. Thank you all for coming. This is so nice to see so many faces. I think we're almost ready, right?
Yep. Oh, finally, power has resumed. So I'll be on track shortly. Even better.
If we lost
but I'm not shifting. I'm just going to continue with my... I'm still going to continue my phone for the time being.
You're not supposed to tell us this 2
minutes
before.
What's the fun? What's the fun? Come on.
I'll let everyone join, yeah?
I think we're all set.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait, you maybe need to make Ranjini host.
That I will do just before starting. Ranjini, can you just go and check once on Attendify if our streaming is happening? All right. Actually, I can check it on my computer.
Yeah, it's happening.
I'm checking.
Nice.
It's happening. And David just joined. Can you make him co-host?
Yes, David. There we go. Make co-host. Okay. Who else will be a co-host? Last person you mentioned, someone else we needed to add.
Abhinand. Yeah, I just spoke with him. He said he'll be joining in. He's here.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty exciting. We have a citywide power cut.
Oh, jeez. That is exciting. Not sort of exciting.
Of course. But see, this is where backups come to help, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay, I
I'm
think we're good.
letting everyone in, but just so you know, there's another participant called Ranjini Murali. Just don't give that participant the host privileges.
Don't?
Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing.
You're saying do or don't?
Don't give the other one.
There are two Ranjinis. Give
Yeah,
the right Ranjini.
Oh, no.
I removed myself.
Okay.
Okay. Before I get confused further, here you go, Ranjini. You're the host now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you go into the separate rooms?
Right.
I didn't catch that. We're going to be in different meeting rooms, right?
Sorry, we didn't hear you, Ma. Can you repeat the
Oh,
question?
sorry, we're going to be in different meeting rooms. Isn't that right? And
Yes.
you'll do that? You'll
Yes.
boot us into different.
Ranjini will be leading that and setting it up and putting us in the rooms automatically, and then you'll get an invite in front of your screen.
Ranjini, I still need to be a co-host. I lost all my rights. Yes, Pravesh, you will get to choose which breakout room you get into. So Ranjini will be talking about it shortly. Host, I lost all my rights.
I made you co-host first. Oh.
Kaustubh, you are co-host.
Never fun to hear yourself again. Great.
Okay.
So are we good to start?
Yeah, Kaustubh, go ahead and start. I think we're good. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whichever part of the world you are. And thank you very much for joining us in this hopefully exciting event on the sidelines of the Global Snow Leopard and Ecosystem Protection Program steering committee meeting, which took place on the 23rd of October, the International Snow Leopard Day, the population assessment of the world's snow leopards. And to do that, I'll try to just give you a little quick overview of what does PAWS have to do with GSLEP. I'm assuming you're all able to see my screen. So talking about PAWS, I think you'll all agree with me if I say that numbers present an incredible tool for monitoring and communicating success or failure. As you saw in the last presentation, which was being streamed on Attendify. If you haven't seen it, by the way, you can always go back and see. You would have realized that population assessment of the world's snow leopards, or PAWS, is the first ever unified attempt to estimate global snow leopard populations based on statistically robust sampling and ecologically informed designs. Yeah, as you all know, there are no good estimates we have so far about snow leopards. And no, we are not only looking at a single global number as the ultimate goal of this PAWS initiative. By we, I mean the countries, the partner organizations, the researchers, conservationists, everyone is interested in scientifically robust estimates from a community managed area. They're interested in a landscape. They might be interested in a province or a mountain range or a country, region, and yes, of course, the whole distribution range. And as many of you will appreciate, some of the recent publications and analysis are already pointing at issues with selection of sampling sites, which could lead to substantial bias in the estimated populations when looking at slightly broader scales. And that's a problem. Yes, it's not an easy task to unify methodological approaches to estimate abundance of a species that is spread over 2 million square kilometers, 12 countries, and is blessed with a rich cultural, political, and socioeconomic diversity. So a quick background, which is honestly in 2017, January of 2017 in Kathmandu, that the issue of the need for better and more expansive scientific monitoring of snow leopards got flagged in the steering committee meeting of the GSLEP program. The Bishkek Declaration, endorsed by the heads of states of all snow leopard range countries, not only expressed concerns, but also instructed the scientific fraternity to take up scientifically sound initiatives for population assessments of the world's snow leopards. This is when PAWS was born with the name that it currently holds. Just give me a second, please. I'll try to see. Yeah. Okay. In 2018, in the steering committee meeting of the GSLEP program again, this time in Issykkul, countries agreed to develop in-country frameworks for implementing PAWS. And what we saw as a remarkable follow-up from many countries that initiated development and implementation of PAWS protocols, be it Kyrgyzstan, India, Mongolia, and so on. During this meeting, in fact, during the next 2 days, we will see some of the examples about where we stand. And Justine is going to talk about some incredible progress that has taken place in the last couple of years. And then in Shenzhen, in China, this is a meeting which opened up the space for better communication between expertise from across the world and showed the possible path for cooperations, not just at 1 or 2 levels, but at multiple levels, right from the front lines all the way till the governments and policymakers. And last year in Delhi, the updates from range countries encouraged organizations and regions to up their game. And you'll be pleasantly surprised from Justine shortly about how strong the collaborative spirit has grown under the PAWS initiative, under the supervision of the high-level steering committee of the GSLEP program, which is represented by environment ministers of all snow leopard range countries, and under the supervision of a highly qualified scientific and advisory panel. What that panel is, it's a group of highly qualified statisticians, snow leopard ecologists, and political positions identified by the GSLEP steering committee. I'll take half a minute to describe the people here. Professor David Borchers, he leads the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at the University of St. Andrews, the place where distance sampling methods were developed and where spatial capture-recapture co-evolved. He's also the key person behind development of spatial capture-recapture methods. In fact, in several presentations, without any hesitation, we call David the daddy of spatial capture-recapture. And these are methods which are being used extensively to estimate not just snow leopards, but tigers, leopards, jaguars, cheetahs, and various other species. Professor Lu Zhe is a celebrated scientist from China who has started several programs, including the successful giant panda recovery program, and she coordinates entire China's snow leopard network as well. Dr. Daryl McKenzie, many of you might know him. He has developed the occupancy methods that we use extensively. Professor James Nichols is his guide and also the person who developed original capture-recapture theory that most of you might know about. Those who are working on snow leopards cannot but know Tom McCarthy, Charu Mishra, Sandra Lovari, and Somali, who are veteran snow leopard ecologists. And lastly, Ashik Ahmed Khan and Wali Mudakik, on the other hand, they are senior experts with decades of experience of working with the governments, and they bring the necessary guidance to maintain a strong link between PAWS initiatives and the government's interests. In a recent meeting of the panel earlier this month, it's also been proposed to bring on board expertise in the field of conservation genetics, and we will soon be announcing that a new member to this panel in the due course of time. So with that, without really coming between all of you wonderful people and this exciting virtual summit that Dr. Justine Shanti Alexander and Dr. Ranjini Murali, and many other colleagues of ours have painstakingly designed. I'd like to invite Ranjini to take us to the next section, please. Ranjini.
Thanks, Kaustubh. Hello, everybody. So I'm just going to introduce you very quickly to the main event for today, which is the Solve Your Problem session. I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, one sec. Can you see my screen?
We do.
So the main sessions, sessions for today. Sorry, one sec. So the main sessions for today that we have, the Solve My Problem sessions, we have the study design session by Ian Durbick from the University of St. Andrews, data processing by Manvi Sharma and Abhinand Reddy. Manvi's from NCF and Abhinand's from the University of St. Andrews, Professor David Borges and Kaustubh Sharma, genetic surveys by Dr. Uma Ramakrishnan, complementary surveys and praise and which are primarily focused on prey and threat surveys, led by Dr. Gustav Samilis and Munir Kanyari, both of them from the Snow Leopard Trust. And we have the basics of fundraising, which introduces us to concepts of writing, grants, things like that, by Dr. Tom McCarthy from Panthera. So how this is going to work is, if you'd be interested in joining these breakout sessions, there are 6. You can put your names in the chat. You can put your name in the chat and the session that you'd like to join, and we'll assign you into the breakout route accordingly. Unfortunately, Zoom doesn't allow us to let participants choose the breakout rooms once they're set up. So so you can just put your names and the breakout rooms that you're interested in joining in the chat buttons, and we'll assign you accordingly. And unfortunately as well, you can't shift between breakout rooms. But what we can guarantee is that each of these are going to be excellent. So yeah, good luck. And Justine is going to introduce a little bit of PAWS next.
Hi, everyone. So please start writing, like Ranjini said, in the chat, what group you want to be in, because she'll start allocating you guys to this room as I speak. Just really briefly about the PAWS Solve My Problem session. So welcome everyone, a second welcome to this PAWS Summit. As you can see, it's many people's brains coming together to provide this very special event. So we are really pleased to be here and support the GSLEP Secretariat with this event. And tomorrow, as many of you know, is the PAWS main event. But today we wanted to start with the Solve My Problem session, and we have over 10 experts that Ranjini just presented from across the world joining us. This is a really special opportunity to articulate and directly address challenges that are critical, but otherwise might be overlooked or not come to the surface in time unless we hear from you and you guys express what challenges have come to the surface. So while we did the registration, we asked if you had a particular problem that you would like us to focus on. And then we reached out to our technical teams and we asked them for support to provide guidance. So I have to emphasize, though, that our experts here do not claim to have all the answers, or there may not be just one approach given the diversity of settings and experiences across the snow leopard range. However, we do hope that during this time, that we have today with our experts, you're able to work with you and clarify certain issues or consider some technical options and gain insights into what might be possible solution. Our experts have prepared, some of them have prepared short presentations on their themes, but we do expect that the main part of these 1-hour Solve My Problem breakout sessions will be discussion based. This is very much the participants' session as much as it's the experts. So please, ask your questions and feel free to use the mic, use the chat. Although these sessions are separate, we realize that they're very interconnected and need to be seen together. So after the 1 hour breakout session, and you'll automatically come back into the main session, we would like to come back together as a larger group. And we would like some of our experts to summarize some of the key outcomes from the discussions, especially in respect to solutions that might be relevant across teams. And then we'll move into a wider plenary discussion to go over some of these points that have emerged. So kindly note that some of these outcomes may advise and inform the PAWS efforts. So it's really important that we try to bring our best ideas together and learn from each other. So thank you all for joining. And a reminder that sessions will be recorded for documentation purposes, and the presentation parts might be extracted and later shared. So please just be aware of that. If you're uncomfortable with that, just write us an email and let us know, and we can always extract the part that you're in. And for our experts groups, remember that you should record your session. I think that's Ian, Munib, Reki, Kustub, and Ranjini, and myself. So that's all for me for now. So I think we are just only 3 minutes over time. So I think we're good to start and move into the breakout session if Ranjini is ready. So it will be 60 minutes for our experts. So feel free, and then we'll come back to the breakout, back to the main session. So I see some people are still writing in, but Ranjini, let us know when it's ready, and we will go out into our sessions. So do enjoy.
So just give me a minute because people are still writing in. So as we had said, if you want to, depending on which breakout room you want to attend, please put your name in with the breakout room, and we'll assign you.
I think there was a little hack on the share my screen. I see that David has put himself under data analysis, and I'm glad you've chosen that session, David.
Justine, Yanlin has been trying to join us
Sure,
quite
Sir
some
David.
time now. And I just can't admit her.
Yeah, he's has connection issues.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was messaging Younglin.
Yeah,
He said his Wi-Fi is unstable. He apologizes. He just wrote a message saying sorry for the disturbance.
Sorry, I don't think everyone's put in their options. So could you please put in your options? I think there's still a few people who haven't yet put in their options.
Yeah, so Ranjini, maybe what we can do is if you could assign those at least, and then ask the ones who are pending.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit of work, and sadly we can't help. Zoom doesn't allow us to help you.
I can't see. Okay. Is Abhinand here? Because I can't seem to find him.
Yes, he's here. He's at the very top.
He's here.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Okay, I'm gonna assign other people to groups if I haven't seen your name with a group with a breakout room. I'm just gonna assign you to a breakout room. I hope that's okay.
Hello, Ranjini. This is Janice. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Janice.
Yeah, so I missed the entire conversation because of some technical problem. So what I need to do to go to those rooms?
Just
Sorry.
write in
type to
the
Ranjini
chat
which room you want to go to.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna, Justine, I'm gonna move the host to you because I can't see all the names.
Sure.
So could you just see if all the names are in, because I couldn't find a lot of the names.
Sorry, yeah, Ranjini. Sorry, everyone. We have some technical glitches there. It hasn't done it. I don't see any of your names, Ranjini.
Sorry?
I don't see any of the names you've assigned. Okay.
Yeah, then I wasn't able to see some of the names.
Justine?
Yes.
Sorry, I got kicked off for a minute. Have people gone into the rooms or not yet?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a glitch. Okay. Ranjini, okay.
I need to go into my room, right? Sorry.
Uma, not as yet. We're just having a technical problem, but we will go shortly.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. Oh, fine. I thought there was something wrong with my internet.
No, no.
No, sorry, we're having a bit of a technical issue because we can't seem to find all the names to assign it. So just give it, I think, a little time. We'll try sorting it out. Sorry for the hold up.
No problem. No problem.
Kustubin and Ranjini, sorry, there's going to be a huge technical glitch. Can we make everyone co-host and then they can choose, move between rooms? Sorry, it's going to take hours. Otherwise, I lost everything you did, Ranjini, so I can't do anything.
Can we at least open the rooms for now so that people can start going into their rooms and we can start, those who are already assigned. And in the meanwhile, Justine, if you can pass the host to me, I'll I'll start working on that.
Yeah, but there's no one assigned to any of the rooms.
Can you send the host to me once?
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, well, you got tech when it has to be.
Sorry, everyone. The real tech.
Okay, if I can just ask you guys, if you could confirm to me, I'll keep assigning you guys in the rooms one by one. Ian, you go to the data study design. I'll just start doing it right away. David, you go to the data analysis. Gantulga, can you please let us know which room would you like to go to?
Data analysis.
Sherry goes to data processing. Aliana, I'm sorry, you had messaged about the room you would like to go to. Could you please tell one more time?
Genetics, please.
Jun wants to go to... No, you have to type it. I'm sorry, it's difficult for me to find out who's speaking. Jun goes to data analysis. Okay. Claudio also data analysis. Okay. Aliana, genetics. Great. Sivang Wangchuk, genetics surveys. Sherry Young, data processing. I don't see Sherry right now. Zoe. Okay. Zulmai, study design. And then Kualing in data processing. Okay, Jamie, not join. Then Luciano, genetics. There we go. Manvi, you're going in which session? I'm sorry, I forgot Manvi.
Data processing.
You were the data processing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
Munib goes to complementary surveys. Shawan. All right. Jenny. Don't see her here. Sarosh.
Chemi's fundraising, Kaustu. Nadia's fundraising as well.
Sorry, can you say it again, Ranjini, or can you please put it on chat?
Chemi's fundraising. Nadia is also fundraising.
Okay. There we go. Gantulga. Yeah, we'll come to Nadia in a second. Gantulga?
Yeah, I would be in data analysis.
Data analysis, okay. Got it. Gopal, could you please let us know, Gopal, which group you would like to go to?
Study design, Kaustu.
Study design. Thank you. Gustav Semelius, of course, complementary surveys. Joe Lambert. Joe, if you could let me know which group would you like to go into?
Data processing.
Mohammed Farhadinia.
Mohammed,
data processing?
No, complementary service.
Joe was the data
Okay.
processing.
Joe, you said data processing. Got it. Thank you guys for being patient with us, but hopefully we will have this sorted. Uma, I'm assigning you to genetic, of course. Tom goes to the funding, of course. Tandin, if you could let us know, please, which Nilofer, thank you for joining. Data analysis, there you are. Pravesh Gautam, if you could just repeat, which room would you like to get to?
Genetics.
Pravesh Gautam.
Genetics.
Genetics. Okay. Muzaffar, if you could let us know, please, which data analysis. There you are. Raki, sorry, I forgot you. Raki?
Genetics.
Genetics. Shannon, which room would you like to get to, sir?
Complementary surveys.
Complementary surveys. Tandin from Bhutan.
Study design, please.
Study design?
Yes,
sir. Okay. And who's YQ? YQ, we don't have it yet, but if you could let us know. YQ, okay. So now other people who are here, I think you guys have joined through in a way that I can't assign you rooms. Are you guys Abhinand? Are you on Attendify or are you on Zoom? I can't hear you. Where is Justine? I think we'll be there in a second. Just be a little more patient, please. I have Sonam. Sonam, which room would you like to get to? Okay, so others, if you could please log on to your Zoom rather than being on the Attendify. I think the Attendify breakout may have a bit of a challenge. When you go to Attendify, it gives you an option, join via Zoom. If you could do that, we will be able to assign you to rooms. Okay, I have four more people. Ulukbek, which room would you like to go to? Sonam, Fungtso, if you could let me know which room. Pup Dorji, please let us know which room would you like to get to.
Actually, I have joined in the another group, so that where I cannot, give comments. So I want to join in data processing.
Data processing, I'll get you to data processing right away. You should have got the message. Emma, which room would you like to go to? Sonam, Ulukbek, YQ, and Zulu. Justine, is that going well for now?
Yes, it's just why hasn't Abhinand joined?
Finally, it's working.
Yeah, I think Abhinand joined through Attendify. So
I got him through Attendify.
Yes.
I am here now.
Abhinand, which room were you supposed to go to?
Data processing.
There you are.
Ulukbek also is data processing.
Okay, thank you, Raki, for helping. We have 3 more people unassigned: Sonam, YQ, and Zulu.
Sorry, Kaustubh, could you assign me to fundraising? I'm in the wrong group.
Zulu
which room are you
fundraising.
in? Sorry.
I'm
Ranjini?
I'm supposed to be in. I'm right now. It says PAWS and data processing, but could you put me in fundraising? And can you also make me co-host? And Ulukbek also fundraising with Zulu.
Okay.
And can you make me co-host too?
Yeah, Justine also. Yeah.
Okay. Zulu also fundraising?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you both,
And
Raki, Justine,
Sonam
both
is
of you.
data processing.
Sonam is
Yes.
data processing.
How about Xiaoyan Wang? The rest of you, all you would need to do is please, on Attendify, there is an option which says join via Zoom. Please click on that, and then we will be able to assign you rooms. If you're directly on Attendify, I think that's making it difficult for you to join into specific rooms. So please click on join via Zoom when you see the window on Attendify, and then it should allow you to be assigned a certain room. Okay, so we have two people, Karan Gurung. I think he's fine, right? Yeah.
So, Kaustup, what I can do is maybe both you and Justine can go to your sessions, and I can wait here and try assigning the other people.
Yeah.
I'll just let
Sounds
Tom know, and I'll ask Ajay if he can look after the fundraising session. And
So you do that and come back here, and then I'll assign you as a host, Ranjani.
Yeah, okay.
So Justine
Thank you,
is still
sir.
not co-host.
Oh, Justine is not co-host.
No.
I will tell my group to start. Okay. So we're saying come back in an hour, Kaustup. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone to come back in an hour. Okay.
The rest of you who are here, you have all seemingly joined via Attendify. In Attendify, it gives you two options: join here and join by Zoom. Please click on join by Zoom. To do it, simply just refresh your window, and it will ask you to join again. Please join via Zoom. That's when I'll be able to assign you rooms. Abhinand, are you okay?
I need to be made co-host because then I can share my screen. I dropped off and came back in and it wasn't possible.
There you are.
Shoot me back into that room.
You should be able to go now.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Heather, we need to know which room would you like to go back in, please? Heather, Martin, Soros, and Shawen. We need to, and then others. We have Nadia, Karan, Soros, Ali, Yanlin, GM Muhammad. All of you need to be assigned rooms, but to be able to assign you rooms, you need to be on Zoom. Yes. Now, and let us know which rooms would you like to be sent to. Narayan, you're here. Can you type which room would you like to get into? Ghulam Muhammad, genetics. I think you are already in genetics, aren't you?
I am not. I didn't get any room.
Yeah, that's because you need to go out and come back and join in Zoom, Ghulam. What's happened is
I already did. I just signed out, then I.
Oh, you already did?
Yeah, but I couldn't get any room.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see you here. Ghulam, okay, let me just check.
Hello. Hi, Kaustup.
Yes,
you and Justine
hi.
can join your breakout sessions, and I can do the assigning over here because Ajay has said he'll help with the fundraising. So the reason we can't see the names is because people have joined in through Attendify and not the Zoom link, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes, exactly.
If you make me the host, I can also put up the Zoom link and ask people to join in through then, and then I can start assigning people.
Yeah, though it's not letting me make you a host. I don't know why.
Oh.
Let me see. Yeah, it's not letting me figure that out.
It's not letting you make me a host?
Nope.
Shall I leave the meeting and join?
Maybe give it a try.
Okay.
Okay.
Everyone else here can't join groups. Is that right, Crystal?
Yes, that's yeah. I don't know Haider, Martin, Narayan. Okay, Ranjini is here. Let me see.
I have
Ranjini.
Kaustav, I have typed about study design.
Okay, I'm sending you there, sir. There you are. You should have got the message.
I signed in using Zoom now and would like to go to complimentary service.
You would like to go to complimentary service. There you go. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Ranjini, I need to see how can I make you a host. Strange, it just doesn't even give that option anymore. Mind of its own.
It's okay. I think there are only 13 participants now. So
yeah. 13 here, right?
Yeah, 13 here. So Peng says genetics.
Yes. Peng says genetics. Okay.
Haider says genetics.
Haider says genetics. Excellent.
YQ genetics.
Oh, lovely. That's so simple. Thank you, thank you, Ranjini. Sorosh.
Sorosh, sorry, they haven't said, but maybe you can assign Sorosh to a group because they haven't mentioned.
Okay. The other person, Nadia, you have to tell us which room you want to go to.
Fundraising.
There you are in funding already. Done.
Is there anyone else that needs assigning? 9 more.
Sorosh says study design. Excellent. Thank you. Now we have a few people who are here who I'm unable to assign rooms just because for some reason it's not showing your names. Can Justine, you put the link of Zoom in the chat window for everyone?
I've pasted
if you could do that.
I'm pasting it again. So you can link
so
this link.
Please click on this link. It will open a separate window of Zoom on your computer and then you should be able to join. And Ranjini, you don't need to go to a room, right? You'll be hanging around here.
No, I don't need to, but I can go. I mean, I'm supposed to be in the fundraising group, but I can wait around.
We need someone here as a concierge.
Yeah. I can be here, but if I'm not the host, I can't assign people to rooms.
Yeah, I know. I think you can message me. Just Ranjini, all you need to do is just message me. I'll request for a pause there and I'll assign from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm headed to my room.
Hey guys, wait, what time are we coming back here? Just to clarify.
Tell us.
3:15, we'll be back.
Okay.
30 minutes from now. So I will broadcast a message to all and 3:15 I'll close the rooms.
3:15 cost to 1 hour.
No,
1 hour. Okay.
We've given us that.
Not 1 hour. Yeah, I know, but not 1 hour from now. I think 40 minutes from now. 40 minutes. So 10 to 3, just to otherwise we'll go way off. I think for another 40 minutes is good. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Can you broadcast Kustub to everyone so that they know?
What do I say?
That they have 40 minutes from now.
Oh, sorry, Kaustubh, before you leave, can you also make me co-host, please?
You are co-host.
Yeah.
Assign me to fundraising.
You are co-host, Ranjini, so you can go wherever you want.
Yeah, I'm not going to go, but it says, because here it says you need to be assigned, so just.
But as co-host, you can assign yourself.
I can't.
Oh my God. It's really, Raghu's back.
Yeah.
Yay, sir, which room do you want us to send you to? You mentioned data analysis, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir, you're there.
Oh my God.
Well,
guys,
it was a bit of an uphill work, but it worked. Don't worry.
Thank you,
Kustub.
I couldn't handle it. It was just like names and I was like, wow.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I couldn't handle it.
No problem. That's fine. As long as we got it done, wonderful. Well done, both of you. Okay, let me get back to David and help him.
So I'll just hang up here and.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ranjini.
Yeah, message me on a private chat on or WhatsApp, Ranjini.
And
Thank you.
Justine, you're going to go to the other group, right? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ranjini. Thanks, Crystal.
Hi, everyone. For the rest of the 8 people who are still here, we can't assign you to groups because we can't see your name. So if you can, I've placed the Zoom video, the Zoom link in the chat window. So if you can log out of this and log back in using that link, and then in the chat video, if you tell me which room that you want to be assigned in, then we can assign you to a room. Hi, so I think right now there are 5 people, right? Ali, Anwar, Mohammed, and I'm not sure who HP is. So I think the reason we can't see you is because, you logged in through Attendify and it's not allowing us to break you out. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, you can unmute and ask me, and I can try helping you so that you can go into the breakout room. Hi, Anwar, you can click the link that I have shared before you okay, so Ali, so to both Ali and Anwar, we can't see you because, because you've logged in through the Attendify app. So if you can click on the Zoom link that I have shared in the chat window, you can leave this meeting and join again using the Zoom link that I have shared. Okay, so then we'll be able to assign you to the room that you're interested in. Is that clear? Okay, thanks. Yes, so YQ, I can't see your name, it says YQ. So can you, did you log back in using the Zoom link that I have shared in the chat window? I'm sharing it again. So just click on that and you'll join back into the meeting. Okay, because right now we can't see your name. So once you've joined back into the meeting using this Zoom link, I can send you to the session that you're interested in. Yeah, the link is here. I'm sharing the link right there. It's here. So HP, you can see that I've shared the link in the chat window just below your message. Copy that link and use that to sign back into the Zoom meeting. Yeah, I've sent the link. Okay, great. So where you want to go to data processing, right? YQ. Have you been assigned? Okay, just give me a minute. Sorry, we apologize for the technical difficulties. It's just, we're just sorting it out.
I guess we're the first people back. So.
Ours was a quick and concise discussion. Thanks, Uma.
I think the other groups have more people also, I think.
That was a short goodbye.
A short goodbye, yeah. Rakhi? Oh,
Sorry. Yes, Uma. No, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. I'll have to leave at 3:15 for 15 minutes. Is that okay? I'll be back.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. Okay.
I'm a little late. If somebody doesn't come by then, I'll come back and do it. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I'll let them know if I notice that that's the time. You leave at 3:15 and you'll come back in 15 minutes by 3:30. Okay. Yeah. I'll let them know if they ask at that time.
Otherwise, if I'm coming up, I can finish and then leave either way.
So I think they will all be back by 3:10 now. I mean, 3:09. Yeah, that's what Kaustubh said.
Should I go now and come back in 10 minutes?
Yes. Okay. I think that's
I'll just come back. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Uma.
Hi everyone, glad you're all back. I hope you all had a reasonably good time in your groups.
Thank you, Kustu, for assigning us all and managing that.
Don't thank me. You guys were the key out there. So thank you. Thank you for all the help.
So thank you, everyone. So everyone's welcome back. So we would love to hear, actually, I'm sure many of you actually wanted to hear from the different groups. And as we said in the beginning, many of these different sessions actually interlink, and it's nice to see it all together and how it can support the PAWS program. So we would like to actually go to each expert and ask them just to share maybe some key points from your session that might be nice to share with the rest of the group. So we'll call on each of the group, and at any time, everyone else, please feel free to write in the chat further questions or other follow-up issues you would like to address, and our experts can respond directly in the chat, or they can respond through mic after we hear from all of the session. So let's first start with Ian and Chris from data design, and hear if there were any key points that you would like to share with the wider group.
Yeah, hi. I made a couple of notes, so I'll just share that, and then if Chris wants to add anything, that'd be great. So we first spoke about interactions between prey availability and snow leopard density, and how to sort of account for that in surveys. And we didn't really come up with an actual, we said it was a difficult problem. Prey availability varies over space and time, and if there is information about that, can be included as a variable to inform the design. But it's a tricky problem, and something that needs to sort of be spoken about between the ecologist on the ground with the expert knowledge and the person that's putting together the design. And then we spoke about checking sensitivity of results of spatial capture recapture surveys to the design, and that's been done a lot with simulation. But there was we chatted a bit about whether there was investigations with real data, real surveys, and there have been a few. But whether it's possible to do that for snow leopards for some of the countries that have got a lot of cameras at their disposal and have some capacity for doing this kind of work. We spoke about the pros and cons of that. And then we spent quite a bit of time speaking about the sort of fundamental difficulty in snow leopard surveys, which is getting recaptures. They're just so difficult to get to get detections of more than once. And so we spoke about how to arrange cameras to try and get as many recaptures as possible, but also that this is sort of just a fundamental difficulty of snow leopard research, that they're difficult to detect. And so some of the developments that we've been working on at PAWS with new or improved ways of doing survey design can help with this, but it's also, it's just a difficulty of the species. And then we spoke a bit about interactions between presence-absence surveys and spatial capture recapture and how they can inform each other. So one country was doing presence-absence surveys using camera traps, and we spoke about how that could feed into abundance estimation using SCR. That was my list. Chris, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, and I think we had a little bit of a discussion as well about what the differences between presence absence and spatial capture recapture surveys are, and why you defining what you want at the outset is really important for how you eventually design a study. So a capture recapture study will look very different to an occupancy study in principle, which is based on the different assumptions that are underlying the modeling. But I'll probably just reiterate, I think there's clearly an appetite, and it's a self-selected audience, so there obviously was going to be an appetite, but there's clearly an appetite for improving survey design. And I think there's a universal acknowledgement that it's extremely difficult to survey these beasts. So having these open lines of communications between those who are developing these algorithms that can try and optimize designs and people who are running into these challenges on the ground is extremely important. That's why this platform is so useful. So when we sit down and invent a way of refining a design, are we doing it with the right things in mind from the user's perspective rather than from a statistically interesting perspective? So that's something that we as developers need to keep in mind, and that's what we're going to be able to do by keeping these lines of communications with the users. So hopefully this group will be the kind of stimulus for even better tools for making good designs.
Thank you, Chris and Ian. So if anyone has further questions, please feel free to put it in the chat for them, because we can take, and then we might go into the plenary and ask you guys again, come back with some further discussion points. But just want to highlight that Chris and Ian, you guys are involved with training and online training courses that have been happening and will be happening in the future. So maybe it will be a good way to link our participants here with those online trainings so that we can keep learning, like you said, linking the users and the statisticians together live and keep finding better tools. And both of you are also highly involved in other teams on different publications, right, which showcase some of these new designs that can help with snow leopards and other. So maybe we can, and I think it's in the Attentify schedule we have in the information, and there is a section on different publications, and both of you are authors on recent publications that came out. We can put that in the chat too. That might be useful. I just wanted to highlight that. And now next to Mambi, maybe going to data processing. So from data design to data processing, Mambi, can you share from your group?
Yes, thanks, Justine. So Abhinand and I led the session on data processing, and Abhinand started and in very broad strokes, he spoke about how important it is to have a workflow plan, and how important it is to have a hierarchical structure in your in folders, especially when you are scaling up. It's important to have a workflow. Then he spoke a bit about how a simulation-based approach can be used to study how different kinds of errors that can happen related to image identification, how that might affect your biases in an estimate of your population abundance. Then he also spoke about these tools that can be used to, to go from images to the data sheet level, like the CamTrap R functions that are available. He spoke a bit about that. Then I spoke and shared the protocol that our team uses to do image processing manually, and I shared some advice related to that. Then we discussed a bit about principles of tidy data and how it's important to it's important to think about a little bit more about data management and not just directly jump to data analyses. And then we also discussed a bit about the raw ingredients that are needed for SCCR analyses, the two kinds of data sheets that are used, the trap information file and the capture stream information file for simple models and also for multi-session models. Then there was a little bit discussion about what other people have been using. We learned about different image management softwares that others use. But Kaustubh, everyone's waiting for the AI-based image identification. Everyone's waiting with a bated breath. So hopefully we get to see that soon. There's expectation about that.
Thanks, Mamvi. And I think we also talked about, even if we get the AI though, we'll need a workflow, right? And what's great is that you and Abhinan are putting together this workflow to help reduce errors. And even with AI, we might have some errors that seep in if we don't think about how to process that. And if other teams have workflows to share, because often these are hard to get hold of because they don't get published or they don't get really shared, right. It would be great if teams could share that. So if people do have workflows, feel free to get in touch and we could share it with the wider group. So thank you, Mamvi. And now to data analysis, if David and Kaustubh could maybe share some key discussion points.
Sure. Thanks, Justine. Now, David, would you like to take the lead? As always, I put you on the spot.
As you started speaking, I thought, oh, well, that's easy. Kaustubh's going to do it. Yeah, so the data analysis stuff touched on the design session in particular, because, you know, data analysis and design are intricately linked. And so we ended up talking a little bit about design, so just following on from what Ian and Chris had said. And in particular, people were interested in how you model dependence on different kinds of habitats, and your ability to model density as a function of habitats depends very much on your design, where you put your traps. And the other issue that arose was, what's the use of putting traps where you get very low detection rates or you get no detections? And we discussed that a bit, and the point there is really that there's great use in having some traps in areas where you get low detections or no detection, because it lets you draw inferences about where there's low density as well as where there's high density. But just following up on the design session, the main point I think that I want to make there was that the design and the analysis are really intricately linked, and you need to think about both right from the start. We discussed what sort of a workflow might be when you're starting out doing an analysis, and really what you want to do is you want to start simple with very simple models. So there are various, you've got models for at least 2 encounter or detection parameters and models for density. So there's a huge amount of modeling you can do, and it can be a bit daunting. And the suggested approach was start simple and then add in components of models using your biological knowledge, and then using AIC or some similar model selection criteria to decide which components you thought might be important, the data are telling you are actually important. We also had a brief discussion about sharing parameters across either sites or time periods. The issue there being sometimes you may have a site or a number of sites with very few detections, so that on its own you can't estimate reliably within that site. And so then there is the option to share parameters from other sites to help you estimate in a low density site. And the same can happen across time. If you, so there was an example in which traps were out for a long enough period that you couldn't reliably assume closure. And then you can break the period into 2 or more parts in which you assume closure, and you can share parameters across those parts as necessary. And actually, I'm going to end up talking about the most complex models, but actually the first question jumped right into the very most difficult model that you could fit with SCR, which is this non-Euclidean distance stuff. And so the point really is that these models are quite complicated and you need to build up slowly, but you can build up to models that can tell you a lot more than just how many animals there are. They can tell you about habitat connectivity, about movement, about differences between sexes and so on. I think that's all I want to say. Kostub, other stuff to add?
Well, that's good. I think the key was, to me, the ability of that what all you can do with data and why you should think twice before considering your data redundant. And the way David put together a few points about when the data sets can still be of some value, if not a lot. I think that was a take-home message that there's or let me put it this way, that you have to do something terribly, terribly wrong in spatial capture recapture for your data to become completely useless. And yes, of course, it doesn't discount the need to have good designs in place, because that's a make or break as well. But I think that to me, that was one key factor which came up. That's all, Justine, I think, more or less.
Thanks, Kostub and David, because that's interesting, because during the data processing session, we also talked about design and analysis. So clearly, it all is very linked, and it was, we just bridged all of these different sessions. So now going to Uma on genetics, could you please share this? I'm fascinated to hear. I think your session had a lot of people also learning about new methods and approaches. So go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, Justine, and just give me one sec. I'll just put this. So yeah, so we had a lot of good discussions, and I think the most, I guess, the suggestion and thoughts that everyone had was that it would be really nice to have more of a community and participation through like an online community and interactions between different people who are doing and using genetics. There was a lot of discussion of new methods and transition of methods from things like microsatellites to SNPs. There are different kinds of genetic markers. And there was also a great interest and enthusiasm for a common data platform where countries could potentially share but keep private their data. So I think though that in some ways that we are still, the number of people applying genetics is few, but everyone is doing it in different ways. And so this came up as a strong point, which in going forward, the hope is that it could change, that there could be a stronger community participation and also common methods with databases which can allow sharing of data going forward. There was also a lot of interest in new kinds of questions, which could include the use of genetics, not simply as a tool to understand ecological parameters like population size or connectivity, but things which are uniquely genetic and affect snow leopard survival, like say, adaptive alleles, or is there potential for adaptive genetic variation, and how is this affected by climatic change or global change? How do we think the prevalence of disease may be affected by increased temperatures and so on? These are very open questions, but I think we discussed and felt that these are uniquely genetic in being value add, what they can really add to our understanding of population survival. So I think these were the key points. I don't know whether anyone else in the group felt whether something else, but I think basically the need for collaboration and community was felt very strongly for common methods and discussion of these methods, especially as we move towards novel methods and platforms. and the interest in novel questions, which we can answer only with genetic methods.
Thank you, Uma. No, that's very interesting. I think it's like all methods with the camera traps, we're also trying to standardize, right? And we were talking, I don't know, we'll talk in another session tomorrow. We were talking about setting up more of a PAWS network where we can build this commonality, and maybe there could be a genetics chapter in that so that we can learn and keep these conversations going. So thank you.
Yeah, so we were thinking, for example, like if PAWS and GSLIP could somehow facilitate some kind of a database where, you know, people's data are private, but you can query the database maybe.
Yeah, no, these are
Say
great points.
You have a genetic sample with some genetic data.
Kaustubh, take note, please bring to the Secretariat.
Totally. And if I may just add, so Uma, you know, what you're saying is so similar to us, to another initiative, which is that on illegal wildlife trade. Abhinan's been involved pretty much into that as well. And it's the same thing. So organizations have different data sets. It's their data, ownership remains theirs, but it's shared. It's accessible for queries. And I think that really makes it an incredibly powerful tool to understand what's happening in illegal wildlife trade across the range. And we don't have a lot of data, but quite a good start there. So something of the same order, I think that will be really, really valuable. Totally agree with you. 100%, Justine. Take a note.
Thanks. Then thanks, Uma. Okay, and then now to wider surveys. Munip and Gustav, your team discussed how we can go beyond, because we often say that PAWS is more than just a number, right? So maybe you guys can share what you guys discussed.
Yeah, thanks, Justine. I'll quickly go, and Gustav and anybody else, please feel free to add a disclaimer. I mean, by no means am I an expert on any of this, but glad to share. I guess an overall thing that came out of our discussion, which was, I thought it was a very fruitful and exciting discussion, was I think an agreement that when we're looking at snow leopards, even if it's from the lens of PAWS, is to really think of these as integrated landscapes and systems. So, you know, when we say complementary surveys, essentially we're sort of looking at integrated surveys where, you know, while we have, let's say, numbers for snow leopards, they closely interact with, you know, the prey, but also some of the threats. So there was a call almost to sort of understand them as an integrated system and really incorporate it into the PAWS exercise at large. I mean, and going a bit more specific, we spoke about some of the issues in terms of methodology, for instance, that might creep in when we're looking at prey surveys, prey numbers. Similarly for threats, you know, how to assess them. A common theme of issue that came out was scale, you know, how to look at these things at different scales. For instance, you know, there's a few very robust methods. And when I say robust, both in terms of field and analytics, when it comes to prey surveys, but it's really hard to really, you know, extrapolate them or do them over larger landscapes. So how might one sort of find a middle ground? And similarly with threat surveys. But I think an interesting point that we all agreed was, for instance, when we look at threats, and if we go down the route of interview-based surveys, what's really valuable there is not only can you look at the past and how things might have changed from the past, but you can also perhaps try and think about how things might change into the future, you know, with certain threats like climate change by asking local stakeholders. So there's a whole spectrum really of things one can do. I think more or less, oh yeah, one other quick point that we sort of spoke about, which I think was very important, was not only doing surveys for the sake of doing surveys, but really asking yourself, okay, what is the larger goal that we want from doing whatever we're doing? And sometimes that gets very closely linked to the metric of data that we get from the data. You know, sometimes it's not only about getting a population number, but maybe when it comes to, you know, ungulates, maybe age-sex classification or the number of young per year over years might really tell you something about the population dynamics. So really sort of dwelling a bit deeper. But I think the larger common thread was these are interlinked systems, and we should really not look at PAWS really as an opportunity, you know, not undervalue just the fact that getting a number for snow leopards is important, but using that as an opportunity where we are investing time and effort and resources in these landscape where we can get a lot more data beyond just snow leopards. I don't know if I'm missing something, Gustav, or people disagree with something I said, please feel free to add, but yeah.
Oh, I think, Munib, that was a perfect summary. Thanks.
Thanks. We should put the Prey along with Ian and Chris, because they were saying they want to know more how to incorporate these with the data design. So we should link you guys all up and have a session on that. And then finally, not least, but last, funding is often, the bottleneck, and is the bottom line is up to funding and resources, money and resources. So Tom, can you please share with us some of the key discussion points from your session?
Certainly. Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. We've just heard of all these interesting sessions of aspects around PAWS. And I got to lead a session on the least interesting, least enjoyable, but still very necessary part of it, which is raising the money to be able to do all of those things. We started out the session just kind of going over the different types of donor entities, from large multilateral governmental funding organizations to large foundations, small foundations, and right down to targeted NGO type grants like the Sabin Snow Leopard grants at Panthera. But then we stepped back and said, that's not where you start fundraising. You don't start by thinking about what donor you're going to go to. We really defined what fundraising is, and it's not just asking for money, it's selling an idea. And the idea that we're all selling is our projects. And we then went into why really good project planning is critical, because you want that idea that you're selling to be able to resonate with the donor that you're approaching. We went through a lot of different components then of project planning, from everything from defining your goals, defining the questions you want to answer, and right down we even bore down a little bit into the dreaded log frames. So as I said, this was not nearly as exciting as genetics or some of your surveys you're doing, but it's something we all have to do. We finished up with some do's and don'ts of grant writing, and I shared some of my experiences that I've faced for 30 years of doing this. And I tried to stress to everybody that rejection is not something we should feel bad about, that for every grant we're successful on, we've probably written 10 that we were not successful on, but that we should all use those as learning experiences, go back to the donor entity and ask, what can I do better next time? And then we just shared some experiences that others had had. And it was exciting for me to learn more about crowdfunding and both the highs and lows of that. So there were some folks in our session that have already gone quite a ways along on some of these grant writing things. So I enjoyed it. It was fun being with all these folks, and I hope that helped some people out.
Thanks so much, Tom. And like you said, your session is critical, and we're gonna, hopefully we recorded your session, so it will be available for others to watch, because I think it is some really important tips you highlighted there. And everyone else's sessions. So now we have around 20 minutes of discussion, Kustub, I think, before we end, and then we have another live stream session on Attendify afterwards. But I see there's already some questions coming in from Bakat related to Chris. I don't know if, Chris, you want to explain your comment. I know you wrote it in the chat, but if you can explain a little bit more about the work you're doing with the Snow Leopard Foundation in Pakistan related to study design and PAWS and using SCR.
Yeah, so what Dr. Ali Nawaz came and spent some time at UMass in my research group there, and a lot of the so he had just received a huge grant to do a Pakistan-wide survey of the snow leopard population. So that's how our discussion started. Really, we were interested in really tackling this problem of how do you sample a whole country, or at least the snow leopard range in an entire country. So that's really where I put a link to preprint in the chat. That's really how this work started to, I mean, it's things that we've been talking about for quite a while, but this was the fire under that work that really got it going. So where we are right now is very much in the planning phase. What we want to do is try and develop something that looks acceptable for a 5-year monitoring program, in which we identify priority areas where it's important to generate estimates of snow leopard density, and do that in a kind of rotating way. So we've identified these 5 priority areas, or they've been kind of handed to us as being a set of the priority areas that the country are interested in. And essentially our job then is to think about how we can maximize the use of the resources in these particular areas to generate good estimates of density or abundance in those areas, in a way that we can compare across and just understand any gradients of density within the country. And these tools are one step towards doing that. In a perfect world, we would have leaned more on the work that David and Ian have been doing, where you have this hierarchical approach where the priority areas are actually defined by inherent gradients in density that you know about. But we kind of passed that because we had these are already defined. So really the tools that are presented in these 2 papers that I mentioned in the chat there are really approaches to start to say, okay, here's my area of interest. How do we deploy resources in that area of interest in a sensible way to generate the best estimate of the thing we're interested in, which in this case is density. And yeah, I think that's about I guess the whole design idea in spatial capture recapture has been built on the foundations of putting out a nice uniform grid. And what we've realized, especially in these large scale monitoring programs in extremely difficult terrain, is that it's not necessarily that easy to go and put out a grid of cameras. It's easy to lay a grid on a GIS layer, but some of the questions we were interested in is what happens if you can't put a camera in all the grids that you originally set out to do. So the focus was really on how do we help people design studies from their desk in a way that's really super efficient. So when you get out into the field, you can make small decisions like, okay, here's a general area where we want to put a camera. Where can we put the camera that makes most sense for a snow leopard, rather than just go out into the field and try our hardest to get to this point that was put on a map based on a grid. So trying to take a lot of the work and front load it at the desk-based step, rather than having to do all of this out in the field. So the tools themselves rely on a few pieces of information. First of all, your knowledge about the system, a general understanding of detectability and home range size, and then also the resources that you have. That's the cool thing about these tools, is that they take your resources into consideration. How many cameras have you got to deploy? And these tools generate a design based on your available resources. It doesn't tell you whether you could whether having more resources is better, but you can get at that through simulation. But it's an opportunity to design. It's bespoke design based on some general principles, which is, I think, a very good step forward.
Thank you, Chris. No, that's super informative. I think I encourage more people to look at the paper and those recommendations, because there are many tools linked to them, which is super handy. So it's not just a paper, there are tools. But that brings me to the question. If anyone has questions, please write in the chat. I mean, should be an open discussion. But until people come, I have questions myself, so I will ask questions. But drawing on what Chris said, and maybe this is a question for Ian and David, related to the hierarchy approach and the recommendation to sample these low kind of habitat areas. I don't know if you have any more suggestions on teams, I mean, when it is feasible, how can teams go about and do this if they don't, for example, have a country level occupancy survey for their country to know which potentially might be low or high areas. Ian or David, maybe you can share, because there are some tools, right, that can help with choosing low areas.
Yeah, I switched on my video, but Ian's the one who has the tool, so he should probably follow immediately after. The one thing I wanted to say is it's absolutely crucial when you are starting out with a design. The very first thing you have to do is you have to decide on the area in which you want to draw inferences. And then possibly you want to stratify that. You will know something about where high and low density areas are, and so then possibly stratify that, and then talk to Ian.
I thought you were going to do a custom there on me, David, and just say, let me jump in first and then say I'm going to hand over to Ian. But you only half did that. But I don't have very much, I wouldn't add very much to that at all. I think, yeah, define the survey area and stratify if necessary. I think sometimes the advice that we're giving to sample in low density areas is sort of thought of as put as much effort into low density areas as high density areas, which is that's not the advice. It's just that you do need to put some effort into low density areas, and stratification is a good way of achieving that.
And for PAWS, we will be looking at national level estimates, right, Kaustubh? So we will, maybe that's our study area of, defined area. So there will have to be a lot of coordination across teams to able to, I don't know if Kaustubh, you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I completely agree, Justine. Though maybe we can possibly step back a little bit and say that, yes, ultimately we are interested in national estimates. It's going to be a sum of a lot of these regional landscape specific estimates. For example, Ian's very recently assisted with the design of a project which is looking at almost 16,000 square kilometers within 2 of the snow leopard range countries. Now, even for those large landscapes, which are much smaller than the national snow leopard habitat coverage, even for those, the design had to be worked out. But ultimately, if some or several of these can be collated and put together in the right, using the right design, then we will very soon find ourselves in a position where Mongolia is, which started with a very specific project goal of estimating snow leopard abundance in areas where they were working, different organizations were working, which provided a lot of, helped them cover a lot of ground. And then they were able to get to Ian. Ian, help us, where do we go next? We have all this data. And I'm just almost repeating myself here, but the fact that if we would have considered almost 25, 26%, no, it was more than that. It was almost 27% of the country's snow leopard habitat was covered by camera trapping already. And if we would have assumed, okay, we're done, let's go ahead, and this is the estimate, there's a very strong likelihood in what both David and Ian modeled for us through simulations that we would have biased our estimates by 25%. So which is where it becomes very important to step back and figure out, okay, what you've done is great, even those surveys, now what the gaps are, and then consolidate all that information together. So I think at every step we can, I mean, it's that we cannot overemphasize the value of the right design, especially at the national level, which is going to be the ultimate goal under this PAWS initiative, given the ownership of the snow leopard range countries of the program.
Thank you, Kaustubh. And I see some now, some questions related to funding. Tom claimed that his session was the most boring, but he has many questions. So Tom, I don't know if you want to take the mic and answer some of these questions.
Sure, Justine. I had just started to try to type those in, but I'm a little slow at that. I think both of those questions were interrelated. One on how do you raise money for the socio-political aspects of conservation, and the other is how does fundraising differ when you're talking about different geographic scales. And I think both of those really speak to understanding the donor's criteria and the donor's interest. There are a number of donor entities that we frequently approach who not just will entertain socio-political components to a grant, they require it. Some of the big Darwin grants that we've received, that's the critical link in what we do, is being able to show how all of these are going to relate back to changing livelihoods for people within snow leopard range. So I think it comes down to really when you know what your project is, you know what you want to do, finding a donor entity whose interests match your project. There's some that won't, some that are going to be extremely just science driven, and they're not going to want to hear about training people for ecotourism. On the scale, how does fundraising differ with geographic scale? Well, one of the things I said in my breakout group was, if you have a project where you want to find out how many snow leopards there are in a small reserve outside of Bishkek, and it's going to cost you $15,000, $20,000, you probably don't want to go for a MacArthur grant that usually comes in the millions, because they're not going to waste their time on grants that size. So it's really, I hope this is answering the question, but for me, it's really understanding what the donor's priorities are, what the donor's limitations are, and don't waste your time writing a grant to the wrong organization.
Thank you, Tom. No, that's very helpful. So, and that just makes me think, if anyone has in the chat, I think another thing we would like to identify, Kaustubh, right, is also capacity needs. So if people can write in the chat already, what kind of capacity needs they feel. I know now experts have a sense from their sessions and participants, but please, identify it as well. And that then maybe we can ask Uma, where is it in terms of related to snow leopard numbers, using genetics and the methods there to do that, and combining? Maybe you can share with the wider group where are the methods, and they're there, right? Or is there still need to be a development in terms of tools and
Yeah, so I think that some methods like microsatellite based individual identification and so on are there and have been for a while. And are being increasingly coupled with SECR and so on. In the pipeline are development of new methods though, because one of the things which came up is, scoring of the data with microsatellites is always a challenge, and moving towards a more objective and less subjective data, format like these SNPs or single nucleotide polymorphisms, which is basically 1-0 data, right, versus microsatellites, which is sliding scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of thing. So that is in the pipeline, and hopefully, in order to get there, that requires the sequencing of several snow leopard genomes, which should shed some light on management units, evolutionary significant units, which may go towards this, the point that Kaustubh raised, because, it's interesting. Of course, politically, we are structured by countries, but there may be, evolutionary significant units or units of management which are within countries or across countries. And biologically, those may also be important to consider when thinking about conservation. So I think that those would be really, I hope that those insights will be in sooner than this kind of panel. But yes, unfortunate. And I wouldn't say unfortunately. I think it's exciting that there are new methods around the corner, and also that we have some experience with. It's not completely new, and we're not completely in the woods. We kind of know how to go about using them. The key is going to be really working, and everyone working together on them. I think that's going to be exciting, but it'll be a really nice experience if we can work together on that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And like you mentioned, genetics is very specialized, right? So there is needing for support and network in these kind of tools. And then, Kaustubh and David, maybe as we go into this next phase of PAWS, data analysis will be a key kind of step, right, in getting the estimates and moving towards that. So I don't know if you have comments on the capacity needs, or how to make it, a reality in terms of that estimate.
I think Kaustubh knows more about capacity than I do.
Well, and it has all come thanks to you. No, let me just say a couple of points. In fact, I remember there was a point Manvi mentioned, which I totally forgot about. So I think, I mean, we've seen it in the past 3 years or so, Justine, and you have some of those spectacular numbers that we have managed to get to 250. And no, it's not a rounded figure, it's the exact figure of how many people we have managed to reach out to for capacity building programs and trainings. But as you all will appreciate, these are most of this training workshops are very foundational and very basic, and they just get you initiated. To get a better understanding into being able to do some analysis, one does need better training and a more thorough insight into the analytical tools. And Chris and David and Ian, they've all been involved in these state-of-the-art trainings, and I think we will need to work at two levels, especially from our end. I think, Justine, we will need to work at developing a framework where people can link up and start and be able to avail these trainings and specific assistance. Whereas we'll also have at the same time need to work with David, Chris, Ian, and others on developing the right kind of training, which is not too exhaustive that it completely takes away the focus. But at the same time, I'm always worried about, there's one famous graph I saw, and it's like on x-axis you have knowledge, and on the y-axis you have the risk of committing a grave error. And as the knowledge is close to zero, your chances of committing errors are very low because you won't do anything, right? You'll go to an expert. When you have a lot of knowledge, you'll do a great job, of course, because you know how to do things. It's the problem in between when you know a little and you think you know a lot, which is where you are most likely to commit massive errors. And I think that, it's like a big bump here, right? And that to me is the most important issue, which is why I think what we have what we have really focused on, Justine, with your help and with our other team members, to set up this help desk, to set up a framework where people like Chris, David, Ian, and all are available to be able to assist with the data issues that people might face with the analysis. And that's, in other words, is a way to jump from knowing little to a lot, because then you don't need to know a lot. You can actually get to an expert who can help you learn a lot. And I think that is a very crucial and an important step, which is why we are so grateful to have the entire team from University of St. Andrews and people such as Daryl McKenzie and James Nichols on the panel, who are able to provide that crucial assistance. I won't even call assistance, guidance to people when they're running through analysis and are and need some advice and guidance. So I think it goes on both fronts. Yes, we need to improve the capacity to understand the processes better, but at the same time, we also need to have the setup available where people can go to these experts. And I can say on behalf of our experts, and forgive me if I'm over speaking my virtue here, but at no expectations in return, the way the PAWS panel is set up, it's there to help people out with whatever they need help with regarding their data. Please do not hesitate. Please do not feel worried at all. I think there'll be more discussions about these tomorrow, but please do not hesitate at all. If you have a question, do come to us, and we'll try to get your questions to the right people to get the answers to you, because that's all this PAWS is all about. It's to make the right connections to help you get to the best possible advice and guidance that you need for your data analysis. And ultimately, if you're doing a good data analysis, if you're having good study designs, it's all going to serve the purpose of PAWS. So it's in our benefit that your analysis and designs are state of the art, and we are here to do all we can to ensure that.
Kathmandu, do you mind if I add to that?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
So I think one way to facilitate this, there's a lot of people doing a lot of surveys, and that's awesome. But at the same time, PAWS is the technical committee is limited. So there's a many to one or many to few kind of dynamic here. So one of the things I think would be good as from an organizational standpoint is to maybe identify when surveys are being done, and then have maybe a series of boot camps where we just have these supervised sessions where everyone comes together and formats their data. That's the whole purpose of this boot camp. And then a few weeks later, we follow that up with an analysis boot camp where the sole focus is for supervised analysis. So we can kind of lean on each other to help each other out, as well as having some supervision, some expert input as and when required. And I think that would be far more efficient for a kind of distributing the expertise or distributing the knowledge around. But also, more importantly, I think it fosters a kind of interaction among the community as well. So people who are working on their various independent projects can start to learn a little bit about, first of all, variation in parameter estimates, or variation in data quality, variation in design, variation in challenges. All of these things we build the community aspect of that from the bottom up, just through these kind of focused interactions. That's something probably we could work on, just to try and identify these temporal pinch points where we could say, okay, this is a good time to have a data intervention, and this is a good time to have an analysis intervention.
Thank you, Chris. No, that was a great way. That's actually, in Mongolia, we had a similar approach, actually, which WWF Mongolia led and brought us. They were like, we want data design now. Many months later, it was, okay, we want to look at the data analysis, and it worked really well. They invited other organizations to join that process. But I think that's and we should take note of that, Kustub, as well. So thank you, everyone. We're actually, we're coming to an end, and we just wanted to thank everyone for your patience, especially in the beginning with our digital, where obviously Kustub and Ranjini are Zoom experts, but not to that level. And so we did our best, but thank you for your patience in staying with us. And we covered a lot of ground today. And just so you know, tomorrow we have an ideas forum to take some of these discussions even further and even wider than what we just talked today. So we can touch upon other topics such as, camera trap ethics, for example, data privacy, or, other needs on the ground, and maybe build also on these integrative surveys that Munip and Gustav mentioned, so that we can go wider than these, specific sessions. So please join us tomorrow for that. And before leaving, I just wanted to say a really special thank you to this technical committee and these technical experts that are coming here together. And thanks, we must admit that a lot of this bringing these people together has been thanks to Kustub's huge efforts over the years. I think he has been this gel of bringing all these experts together. So I want to thank also Kustub, just a gentle shout out to you. But thank you everyone for your time, and because they've been rich and rewarding session, but also to the participants, because I think many of them are learning from you, and it's great to bring your ideas and share your experiences on the ground, so that we can develop these methods even further for PAWS and wider benefits as well. And actually the next session has been developed thanks to our participants here, and it's from the stories from the field. So you can go to Attendify and watch, and it's 30 minutes, and it's many videos that people from across the range have submitted on their work throughout the snow leopard range. So we have Raghu, who introduces the session, and then a few stories that are told, but also some videos about their work related to PAWS or other snow leopard efforts. So please go ahead and join and enjoy the virtual platform. But we'll see you tomorrow for another Zoom session related on what we've achieved so far in terms of global coverage of PAWS and the next steps of the plan and open discussion. So and I see that, by the way, I saw Chris's suggestion, and I think that's a great suggestion. We should follow up. So maybe Tom can help us follow up with that related to funding. So any last thoughts, Kustub or Ranjini, before we go?
I'll just say it's so heartening to see empowered with this incredible group, and the team's growing. It's getting bigger. More and more people are joining in, and to have the blessing, and no exaggeration, to have the blessing of all the people in the technical advisory panel, experts, whether it's Tom, Chris, Uma, David, Ian, and so on. I think we're in a very good position, and I'm super thrilled. I think we all are very, very, very thrilled about the time to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, just before I see so many faces for different countries across the Snow Leopard range, so it's great that you guys are able to stream in with your internet. So I think that's one thing that's nice about these virtual events. We're able to bring in more people, like Kustub says. So thank you. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hi, Zamai. Nice to see you.
Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. Yeah. How are you?
Not too bad. Where are you right now?
I'm in Afghanistan, in Kabul.
Home with the family.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at home now. Yeah.
Excellent.
I
How's
joined the
everybody?
one because of. Yeah, everybody is good. How are you doing? And how are our kids?